Hello, fools, and welcome to Picast number 2.8.
Fools?
Well, because they're still watching.
Oh, great, yeah. Great way to start the podcast. Insult the listeners. The views of Amory Organ do not necessarily match the views of the Borgcast, or at least my half of them anyway. How wooed.
Sorry. I'm only joking. I just want to be a bit different to the same standard intro.
Right. Well, there's been a few comments on the old Facebook group, which I encourage you to have a look at and join if you're not already joined. For instance, we heard from Ol. So why isn't Picard's dad played by Patrick Stewart? Yeah. Which would indeed fit the suing pattern, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, tonight's episode is called Mercy, which is what we all need desperately.
You can leave as soon as you tell me about your plans to sabotage the Europa mission.
And there it is. This guy's buckets of crazy. This is super off the books. We're in a basement with a bunch of broken filing cabinets. That camera's not even plugged in.
You're right. This is super off the books. In fact, no one even knows you're here in this FBI field office basement. And things do tend to disappear down here. Hopes, dreams. As of today, aliens.
So you have a boy running in the woods who shines a torch on either Vulcans or Romulans. This turns out to be the backstory of the FBI guy and he's fucking pointless.
It's bizarre, isn't it? So they introduce a character at the end of the last episode and then give his backstory at the beginning of this one.
Which we just don't fucking need.
And it all turns out to be a plot they stole from Muppets from Space.
Yeah. I
mean,
don't know why.
Wow. Jeffrey Tambor's character, this is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I've been looking for something like you all my life. And now at last, my search has come to an end.
I think before you answer that question, you better be real clear on the final destination of that finger.
No nostrils. How do you smell?
Awful. Trust me, I'm his roommate.
Oh!
That's a killer.
Don't laugh at me!
I mean, we just need Gonzo now.
Yeah. Except it's not as good as that because there's no fucking Muppets in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this dipshit is Jeffrey Tambor's interviewing Picard and Guinan. He sort of vaguely threatens them and all sorts of shit. But, I mean, by the time it gets to your part, he goes, oh, all right then. At one point, she meets Q. Is that your part or mine? There's just no point in talking about
my
most
part.
of this. Right. So what little is there in my half that's actually worth talking about? I suppose the fact that Q has somehow got himself into Corey's computer system.
Yeah.
So that when she's using her
Oculus Rift or whatever it is.
He sort of has a conversation with her, delivers her a package. It's a blue vial labelled Freedom.
How slow is she? How has she not realised at this point what she is? I just baffles me. I thought she'd already clocked in the previous Book 1 episode when we last had her. Again, this weird thing where we're not at all in the last episode. So badly planned this. Oh dear.
What I did like about my part, which I will talk about, is the stuff between Seven and Raffi, where they're going round, they're trying to find what's going on with Agnes, the Borg Queen, and Raffi turns around to Seven and sort of goes, well, if you were a Borg Queen wandering around, what would you do? And understandably, Seven reacts against that. Like, I'm not the Borg Queen, but then later on, she's like, no, I do understand it. This is what I would do. I would try to find a connection, because if you've had it once and you lose it, you will do anything to get it back. And it turns out she's nicked the metals from somebody's mobile phone to try and make base nanobots to enable assimilation. And then Raffi's like, oh, that's awesome. And she's like, don't be cross because I'm defective. And then they have a row, and she says that Raffi manipulates everyone to be the person that she wants them to be. And Raffi's kind of like, yeah, I did that. And it turns out that she blames herself for Elnor dying because she persuaded him to stay in Starfleet when he was going to go and do something else. And if she hadn't persuaded him to stay, then he wouldn't be dead. Borg Agnes attacks and very nearly kills Raffi, but doesn't. So the thinking is that Agnes is in there somewhere, and that's why she didn't kill her. That's the only shit worth talking about in my part. You'll go.
So yes, Q gets sent into Guinan's cell wearing an FBI top. Apparently the summoning was delayed, so that magic lamp worked.
Oh, right, okay.
Wow. She picks up that he's dying, which should have been more of a focus of the episodes, because it's an interesting concept, but, you know, there was no Q at all in the last episode. He thinks he's on some sort of threshold of the unknowable, the undiscovered country, maybe. He's impatient and not burning brighter, but dimming. And apparently what he's doing with Picard is some sort of redemption. So we've got kind of that mystery solved, but it's taken way too long to get there.
Yep.
Soong returns to Corey. Oh, good, we got Soong back again, who confronts him with what she knows about her creation. She accuses him of loving his work rather than her and heads outside, having drunk Q's blue goo. And does a Britney Spears on him, basically.
Yep.
Good for her.
Yep.
Agnes visits Soong. Guinan appears as an image in Picard's interrogation and prompts him to ask Wells why he's stuck in the past. And yes, this is where we find out about, you know, the kid at the start being him. And there's some Vulcans who tried to mind meld with him. Apparently this ties into something referenced in Enterprise, like we care. Yet again, the transporters are plot conveniently offline on the Not Serena, although they do keep calling it the Serena. It's not the Serena, because this is the one from the parallel universe that wasn't a freighter but a fighter. So, Wells, unsurprisingly, gets fired. Guinan puts it all down to destiny, so he sets them free, as you do. Agnes talks up Soong's destiny if he disposes of Picard, because that went well last time. So he's going to rev up his car and have another attempt, possibly. They realise the Queen wants what was called the La Serena, but isn't. She starts assimilating a bunch of mercenaries Soong has somehow got hold of. How's he doing this? What is he now?
Oh, I don't know.
Fluctuates between being a disgraced scientist and some sort of power, you know, really powerful character. It doesn't make any sense. And yes, that's our episode. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to admire the desperation recycling old Muppet movie plots.
Yeah.
Blimey. Next week, presumably, we'll have some sort of reference to Muppets Treasure Island. I look forward to that one.
Oh, yeah.
Shame Soong was back, but at least this one had some Q. I mean, you know, more of that would have been better, but never mind. And yeah, but, you know, whilst stuff is beginning to be explained, it's too late for us to care, basically.
Yep.
And there we are, another crap episode.
It
Wow.
was really bad. All that padding for that character that wasn't an anybody. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll feature heavily in the next 2 episodes and justify it, but somehow I doubt it.
No, and it won't justify it anyway. It's just fucking annoying.
Well, this week we have heard from Daria.
And she writes, "Morning, Orcs. Picard Season 2. I mean, it started so well. Reintroduce all the characters like that, throw us straight into the story, keep us interested with some excellent John Delancey action and a bit of time travel. I was here for it. But an episode or 2 into the past and we're just all over the place. I agree the pacing has a lot to do with it. They've 10 episodes to fill, and I think they've structured their story hard, knowing they wanted certain beats to be ends of episodes and certain sequences to be whole episodes. Put it all together, you've got parts stretched out, parts run together, random jumps ahead to the end of the episode at the start. Maybe they can use the ending twice and fill out the time slot. I'll admit, if cleverer hands had made the start at the end and jump back a theme for all of the episodes of the season, maybe they could have made something of it. But they didn't. As the episodes go on, I think the mood has become unstable too. Is this a time travel adventure to save the past to restore the present, or an exploration of how mental illness or even the idea of abuse can affect all round someone? It's hard to go from, I thought my father was a monster, but he was trying to protect me, straight to, oh, Ramirez's kid is messed up again. At this rate, I don't know if the series will end with the characters pondering how they have learnt and grown from their experiences, or in a freeze frame where everyone laughs as a klutzy moment and a dad joke. Adam and Corey Soong and Tallinn looking exactly like people we know in the future. Step back a bit and it's clear that the show wants to keep giving the actors something to do, and that's fine. But the show isn't self-aware or tongue-in-cheek enough at these moments to properly pull it off. Compare Legends of Tomorrow, who had to ditch the John Constantine character, but blatantly turned around and cast his actor in a different role almost immediately afterwards. I've not seen Legends of Tomorrow, have you?
No.
I mean, yes, it seems that the Soongs are the Blackadders of the Star Trek universe, and this is the fourth family member to look like Brent Spiner, but so much head-scratching over why Tallinn looks like Laris, as though it's a big deal coming, only, oh, maybe you're an ancestor, and then seemingly be done with it. And I have a feeling we've done with Agent Wells too. All that business with the interview in the FBI storeroom was to give Picard something to do until it was time for him to rejoin the main story. Q even managed to have only half a conversation with Guinan, so he doesn't reveal too much before the story wants him to. Alison Pill gets her moments being adorable as Agnes Gerasi, but does the poor dear have to be on brainwash murder detail 2 seasons in a row? In fact, the cast really are giving their all as the story is starting to get lost around them. I'll definitely give them that. So I don't end on a negative, a couple of things. I enjoyed seeing Kirk Thatcher as Punk on the bus again, older and maybe wiser about playing boomboxes on public transport. Yes, it was gratuitous, but I'm okay with that. And the show did manage a self-aware moment when Q first appeared looking like 1990s John Delancey before snapping his fingers and catching up because the actor is getting older. Well done, and thank you, show creators, for not covering everyone in digital de-aging again. And alright, with only a couple of episodes left, I do want to see how it all turns out. Keep up a great cast. I hope the powers that be stop being so stingy about which shows they'll release in the UK, and you get to see what the crews of Protostar, Discovery and Enterprise are up to. Daria.
Yeah, we might get it sometime next year. Who can say? Thank you, Daria.
Thank you.
We've also heard from the Llama God.
Llama God looks got the fixia care fixi coig. I want to believe. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say it. I am going to have to say it, and it's a shame that I'm having to say it quite this late into the run. But the thing about this episode, right, is that it actually wasn't really all that bad. And, yeah, I don't want to say it because we really shouldn't be up to episode 8 when we're having another episode that isn't that bad. It certainly hasn't been the best series of Star Trek so far, but yeah, this episode, I actually quite enjoyed it. And it's not great, it's not one of the best episodes of Star Trek so far, but it seemed like for a bit, momentum was starting to build up again. I should bloody hope so, because there's only 2 episodes left after this. But it felt like that was building up again. The biggest problem I really had with it was that this felt like this should have been episode 4 or something. You know, a lot of these events should have happened a lot sooner. We shouldn't have had to wade through quite so much padding to actually get here. And speaking of padding, the weakest part of the episode was, unfortunately, the FBI guy that showed up out of nowhere and arrested them at the end of the last episode, because it seems that the whole point of arresting them was not to show that the American police are bad, which I thought was going to happen again, but was basically to keep Picard and Guinan in a room for an episode so they didn't get to the end too quickly. Yeah, it just very much felt like a nothing plot which didn't go anywhere. Yeah, the FBI guy saw Vulcans as a kid and spent his whole life chasing them, but what does he do with that? What happens as a consequence of that? He locks them up and then he lets them go again. Picard says, right, we need your help, and then the guy gets fired and walks off, and that's it. I thought after letting them go, he would then go with them and work with them and utilise his contacts at the FBI to help them track down Jurati and save the timeline and all of that nonsense, but no, he just gets fired and walks off with a box. So what was the point of that? It's a shame because it was a nice little bit, but yeah. And I don't know how much people are complaining about the fact that he meets a Vulcan expedition way before first contact, but it does actually make a lot of sense. I mean, it's not surprising that the Vulcans would have scouted out this solar system before, and although they might not have had any interest in Earth civilization before that, they might have found it a useful stop-off point, you know, for water supplies or something on the way back to Vulcan, and maybe that's why they were passing through the system on the day of first contact, because, you know, they were just going back to this harmless rock again just to have a bit of a stop-off on the way back home. And you could ask, why has this never come up before? And, yeah, I mean, let's face it, Vulcans are never particularly good at telling the truth, have they? Vulcans never lie, except when they don't tell the complete truth, which is pretty much all the bloody time. I mean, just look at the Vulcans on Enterprise, they're complete bastards, really. So, yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that the Vulcans might have been here before, but just kept quiet about it for so long. And it does give us the scene between Q and Guinan, and that's a really good scene. When Guinan's taken off on her own, you feel the worst, you feel this is getting some really grim dark territory, but no, it gives her a chance to have a run-in with Q, and this is a great scene, and this is what I want to see more of. John Delancey doing this, his whole speech about dying and waiting for the meaning of his existence to come clear and come to him, and instead finding nothing. Yeah, that's a great scene. I love that whole scene. And if that was the main point of them being arrested by the FBI, then yeah, fair enough, it was worth it for that scene alone, but I just want to see more of that, really. And we do also get to learn a bit more about Raffi this episode, about why she was so attached to Elnor, the reason that she's been so upset about his death death is because she was the reason that he hung around in the Starfleet and ultimately ended up dying. Again, this is good to know, and whilst it's disappointing that's her only character journey of this series, at least we know why she was pining so much. Although, again, this is something that should come in about episode 3 or 4, maybe even episode 1, so we could have figured it out ourselves in the start. So, yeah, again, it's slightly disappointing, slightly too late. The scene with Rios and the Doctor and her kid on the La Serena, yeah, again, that was fun. This is something I still wanted to see more of. And there's a nice scene with the Replicator. The kid asks for lots of cake. The Replicator gives him 4 different cakes. Why did it have done that? Simple explanation to that one, because it was Rios' ship. He's free for everyone in the cake selection, hasn't he? And the Borg Queen subplot is developing nicely as Jurati gets more and more Borg Queen and starts acting out the main plot of My Stepmother is an Alien for some reason. I don't know if she's going to be doing a saucy dance for Dan Aykroyd next episode. Who knows? They're desperate for padding in this show, really, so anything could go. But yeah, it feels like it's building to a head with that one. It's just, again, it's a shame that it's taken quite this long to get here, and the fact that she also has to turn to Soong for help. Since when was Soong, who's been discredited and disbarred and whatever, how on earth would he have been able to actually find his own militia and his own private army? I guess if he is as wealthy as he's made out to be, this is America, I guess, and I guess you can buy these sorts of small armies over there, I guess, maybe. Someone tell me if I'm wrong or not. But I just got really annoyed that she had to bring him into the story. And yes, Corey ran away after finding a hidden message from Q, who somehow is now an expert hacker. I thought he was a malicious god or something, but a computer hacker? Nobody hasn't got his powers? Yeah, whatever gets the story going along. So yeah, as I say, in general, this wasn't a bad episode. Things actually seem to be happening again. It's just a shame that it's taken them this long to get there. And with 2 episodes left to go, I'm still not entirely unconvinced they won't just either rush it, or, as was suggested in your last podcast, just leave us with a cliffhanger. And that's how they introduce the Next Generation cast. Still, as ever, I look forward to hearing what everyone else has made of these. I hope that everyone's staying safe. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, the good bits should have been in episodes 3 or 4.
Yeah, of a 5-episode season. I mean, that if I'm being generous, that's the absolute most they've had material for. Yeah. Blah. Rubbish.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently this business about the Vulcans coming to Earth before was name-dropped in Enterprise. So, yeah, it's not necessarily a deal-breaker continuity-wise. It's more just, you just don't care.
Yeah. It's like, it's trying to do what Lower Decks does and getting it wrong and being shit about it.
Yeah, it's not even holding a candle to Lower Decks, I'm afraid.
No, it doesn't even know where the fucking candles are.
But anyway, glad you enjoyed it anyway, sir.
Yes! Who else we heard from?
We've heard from Puri.
Hello, Args. Puri here to talk about Mercy, the episode, not the general concept. This was an improvement. I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed this more than the last one. Still not quite up to speed. The problem, I was actually thinking about it before I did my feedback, and one of the issues I think is, again, we've got too many things running. If you think about this, a normal Trek episode will usually run an A, B, maybe a C plot. But this actually has kind of 4 plot chunks to it. We have the ongoing Soong family drama, which I could really do without. We have Raffi and Seven chasing down Jurati, who's currently eating car batteries to apparently make nanoprobes inside her, because that's a thing that can happen. Again, I do see your point with space magic. I think it's Star Trek always sat in, for all it had space magic, it did sit in a sort of a box of some form of credibility. And the idea that with a few, either nanoprobes multiply like bloody lice, and once you're injected in them, they duplicate, or they're, like basically whatever the Borg Queen did to take over Jurati hasn't injected anything, in which case she should be dead on account that she's drunk about 8 car batteries. And checking my medical notes, the number of car batteries you need to drink to do yourself serious harm is 1. So yeah, there's that. There's Picard and Hench Guinan and substitute Fox Mulder. I actually genuinely did think when he said he was very focused on aliens that he was going to say his sister was abducted by them. But no, it turns out he just ran into a Vulcan survey team, and the Vulcans sloppily beamed everyone up before they could wipe his mind with a mind meld. Again, it's one of those bits where I don't know why this bit's here. It could turn out our ex-FBI agent, Fox Mulder 2, will be something significant, but it just seemed like it was something they wanted to do. And in fact, really, if you think about it, as we are now, obviously it could be corrected later, but as we are now, we could have cut this whole bit and just had Q appear in the bar at the end of the last episode. And yes, him being late just because he had to walk or take a bus, presumably with Time Punk. But yeah, and that's kind of the thing. It seemed, when you start thinking, well, was that scene really necessary? You start thinking that whole plot thread was padding, which is a shame because the scenes with Q were good. Again, you do feel they should have probably used Delancey more because he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, he really lit. I think maybe that's why I'm coming out of this with such a happy memory. He really lit up the scene. Our final plot thread is, again, the weird one of Rios and Ramirez falling in love while their son eats all the cake on the ship. And again, I don't want plots to spell it out, but occasionally I am sort of like the judge in a court going, I'm sorry, where are you going with this? Because, yeah, I'm baffled as to... We've begun to see some of the plot threads come together, but a lot of them still, you don't quite know where they're coming from. So we now know Q is dying. Although why that's made him put Picard into the evil where Soong won everything universe, I don't know. I mean, again, and the tie-in with Soong, we now know why we've had to sit through so much Soong family drama, is because he's quite happy. But again, he could have been Bob Bobson, the evil man who will quite happily sacrifice things to make himself a legacy. Making him a Soong was just so that you could get Brent Spiner and basically use the cast that you had. And yeah, it's still, there's a lot of plot threads. I appreciate them trying to tie them together, but for my speculation, and if you don't want to hear speculation, turn away now. My speculation is that at some point the Borg Queen will kill people, because we'll see everyone get mangled and it'll be all shocking, but it'll be Jurati going forward in time. Jurati Borg Queen going forward in time to the ship to enlist Picard's help to stop them ever having to go back in time in the first place, which means Eleanor's undead, and kind of basically we're reset to where we are in episode 1. I reckon it's going to happen, and I reckon it's going to be disappointing. But I'm getting my guess in there now so that I can be right or wrong. But all it really to say is to keep up the good podcast. You're doing a good job here, even though this series isn't exactly inspiring. So I will still feed back to the next one, and hopefully talk to you then. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.
I think you're right. I think you've called the end. It was a fuck ton of padding. He could have just appeared in the bar at the end of the previous one. There wasn't any point of this episode. And Jurati should be dead after that many car batteries.
Yeah, that's not a thing that you can do and live. It's just silly.
No.
Yeah, and Q is good in this, but, they should have used him more. But there we are.
Yep.
I like the phrase plot chunks, because that just makes me think of puke, which describes this quite well, really.
Yeah, just a bit, yeah. Do we have a title for the next one?
It's called Hide and Seek, apparently.
Oh.
As opposed to Hide and Q.
Yeah.
So, can't wait for that. The thought occurs, maybe we're not getting Strange New Worlds because we've bitched so much about Picard. Paramount are gone, nope, can't have it anymore. No more Trek for you. Meh. Never mind, only 2 to go.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. And then I guess we're probably returning to original Trek to give you some idea of where we're headed. So. Original
Trek and Season 2 Buck Rogers. All of the cheese.
Yes, definitely. Anyways, we'll catch you next week. Cheerio, bye.
Bye.
I don't want no fly guy. I just want a shy guy. That's what I want, yeah. You know what I want, yeah.
The artwork for this podcast was created by Andy Pelastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or Borgcast ammo. Hashtag Borgcast.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. None of them no move me. Shine fire when me want it. Only him can make me irate. Make man, me no want none of them. Me pick up my body, lick off my head top. Me no want none of them. Me no want none of them.
Shut it down!